So there are a ton of new tools out there today designed to help you grow your podcast. And in today's episode, I'm going to show you my top 3 favorite growth tools that you should check out in 2023. So what's going on, guys? Welcome to How to Get Your First 100,000 Podcast Downloads. I'm Luis Diaz, your host. And this is the show, in case you're new here, designed to help you, the business owner, the entrepreneur, the content creator, learn how to grow and monetize your podcasts. All right, mainly through selling your own offers and growing your audience, so that you can sell cool shit to them. Today, like I mentioned in the beginning, we are going to go over the top 3 tools that you can use in 2023 to grow your podcast. Right, and those 3 tools are: number 1, Melville.app, which is a really cool tool, that's AI writing tool that is in beta right now, but we're going to go through how to use it and some of the cool features. Number 2 is a tool called Capshow. And then number 3 is going to be a secret that I'm going to keep for later. So stick around for that third one. That's a really exciting tool. And the cool thing about it is that it's actually free. Let's jump into these demos. I'm actually going to share my screen here, and then we are going to dive in. But if you're listening to this on the podcast version of this episode, don't worry, there's going to be tons of tips, and there'll be links in the show notes for you to check that out as well. However, I do recommend you hop over to the YouTube version of this episode so that you can actually see what I'm sharing on the screen. Trust me, it'll be a lot more beneficial for you there. But either way, we're going to make sure you get what you need. You know how to use the tools that I'm going to share with you right now. All right, guys. So the first one I'm going to share with you, like I mentioned, is called Melville. Now, Melville is still in beta. They don't have all the kinks worked out. However, it is a really, really, really cool tool. And the reason why I like it so much is because it's kind of like your personal copywriter for your podcast. Some of the things this tool can do once we hop in here, actually, let me just hop right in. Let me log in really quickly so that you guys can see. Let me grab the password here, and then we can get going. And then I'm actually going to pull my notes up here. Awesome. So as you guys can see here, we're inside the back end of Melville. And right off the bat, you can see I've got my show here, and I've got my an episode that I just did the other day, just as a sample episode. So I'm going to hop in here and show you exactly what happened. So basically, with this tool, what you're going to be doing is you are going to be uploading your finished podcast audio. Now, let me just take a step back here really quick. If you're brand new to do this, what you're going to do is you are going to search for your podcast. So you can search, like, to see if anything comes up, Westworld Outreach. So if I wanted to do this podcast, it'll actually pull it up. So you can search for your podcast here, and then you can just simply import it, hit add podcasts. Select the language you want, hit add podcasts, and then boom, you can get your podcast in there. You can also do it manually by hitting manually add podcast here, which is a little bit more, I would say, time consuming. So for me, it's not my favorite way to do it. Once you have your podcast in here, you can click in, and then you can hit new episode. I'm actually not going to do this one because I have an episode for you, and I want to show you the results of what happens when you add an audio file in here. But if you were to go and add a new episode, if you wanted to try, upload audio, and then go ahead and upload whatever audio you want. But like I said, we already have an episode ready for us. So let's just check that one out. Now, one of the things I like about this app, first and foremost, is that it gives you the transcript for free, and it's a very accurate transcript. I want to say it's about 95% accurate. After speaking to one of the founders of this tool, I believe that's what he said. Don't quote me on that exactly, but it's somewhere above 90%. However, if you look to the left here, you've got a couple of different things that it gives you. So it gives you the title suggestions, which I really like because sometimes you just don't have a good idea what the title should be. So this will, just by adding the audio into this tool, it's going to give you some really cool title suggestions for free. It also is going to give you summaries. So these are, as you can see here, kind of like the first paragraph introducing the podcast episode. It'll give you some key points, which are more of like your bullet points of like, here's what was mentioned and what's actually valuable, the nuggets of your episode. It'll give you quotes, and it'll also give you keywords if you want to add that maybe for YouTube or something else, right? And then, like I mentioned before, it's going to give you the entire transcript, and you can actually export that in a TXT file, a doc file, or an SRT file if you are going to like upload this to YouTube if you wanted. Very useful stuff. One of my other favorite things about this, like I mentioned before, what is the episode title suggestion. So if you don't like the suggestion, you can just hit recustomize and then you can actually go to using a different tone. So let's just say if I wanted to do a more motivating tone and have it more of a reason why. Let's see what we get here. All right. Well, the key to successful, enjoyable, teachable podcast episodes is careful planning execution. Not bad. Not bad for AI. Again, this is it's just a great way to give you a lot of different looks, a lot of different ideas. And then you can always use this for like email copy too. So if you wanted to take this episode, for example, and then create an email about it for it, you can actually use these titles for that as well. So besides that, a couple of things I really like about this tool is that the pricing is very, very transparent. So the pricing, if we go back to the actual page here. Let's see if I can go back, log out, and I'll go down here to the main page. As you can see, the pricing, it actually lets you like calculate it and it gives you a really cool way to compare what you're currently spending versus what you would be spending if you're using Melville. Now, let's just say you have a 40-minute episode on average. You use human transcription and you on average pay someone $10 an hour for that. And you do 4 podcasts a month. It'll tell you how much you're spending and then also how much you'd spend with Melville, which I think is pretty darn smart on their part. So as you can see here, if you were doing 4 episodes a month, human transcriptions and paying somebody $10 an hour for that for 4 podcast episodes a month, like I mentioned, you would be spending around $113 per month. With Melville, you're going to spend around $35. A couple things I don't like or don't love about this tool is that, as you can see, when I went back here, we just go back quick, we log in and go back to where it says how to upload, right? So if I was trying to go to this podcast and add a new episode, the thing I don't like about it is that it only does audio. So I can't upload like a Zoom video on here. I can't upload a YouTube video. It has to be, I believe it's MP3 format. Yeah. So it won't even let me, like if I try to do this MP4, it's not going to let me because it only supports MP3. So that's kind of a bummer. But I'm sure they're fixing that or going to make that more accessible later on. The only other thing I would say about it is I would love if it would allow you to export this as a Google Doc. For us, we use a lot of Google Docs in my company. So it'd make it a lot easier if we were able to do that. However, the things I do love about this tool is that it's very cost effective. They give you title suggestions, they give you automatic transcripts, and there's no limit on the number of podcasts I can actually have in here. So I could have a ton of podcasts in here. Let's just say you produce a bunch of shows and you wanted to, know, automate some of the at least the show notes writing process. That will be very doable with this tool. So for me, it's a really cool tool. I know it's only going to get better. So that's the first tool you can use to grow your podcast. And I guess let me just definitely start with that in mind here. When it comes to growing, how you would use this tool to grow your podcast is very simple. So for me, I do use it for basically like my emails. My team will go in here sometimes and actually like pull the transcript so we can use that for blogs in the future. So this can help you accelerate the amount of content you're creating with just one podcast video or podcast episode, right? That's how we use it. It's great for helping us kind of repurpose content when it comes to that kind of stuff. So that's the first one, Melville app. Check it out. If you want to go to beta.melville.app, definitely a good tool to check out for those listening on the podcast. Now, the second tool that we're going to discuss here is going to be called Capshow. You guys aren't familiar with Capshow. It's very similar to Melville, actually. However, it's a little bit different. And let me just share with you exactly how. You guys should be able to see Capshow on the screen now. This tool is similar, like I said, to Melville. However, it does have a few other really cool features that we'll get into here in a second. If you're someone who likes to take their podcast and repurpose it, make a ton of different content, I'm talking about blog posts, LinkedIn posts, captions for TikTok, captions for Facebook, captions for Instagram, YouTube descriptions, emails, all kinds of stuff like that. If you want to be able to do that, or if you're already doing it and you want help, then Capshow is a really, really good tool for you because it does all of that stuff. Let me sign in here and then I can show you a recent episode. It's actually the same episode we just used for Melville. However, it allows me to do a few other cool things. As you can see here, I've got a test episode here and I've already uploaded it and transcribed it and did all that good stuff. When you go into CapShow, you upload an episode. You can sign up for a free version. There's a free version you can use for about 2 weeks, I think it is, or 7 days. And essentially, it is going to give you everything we just talked about inside of Melville. However, there's a few more really cool features. The first one I really like is the captions. So if I go to captions and then drop down the menu to Facebook/Instagram, it will give you a full blown Facebook post. I can also change the tone to make it more, kind of optimized for engagement. As you can see here, it's asking a question. So all of these will end up in questions. If I wanted to do, say, educational, this is going to be more of a long form, as you can see here. If I wanted to take this, I think I can just copy and paste it. If I hit Control A, yeah, so I can hit, I'm on a Mac. So if I hit Control A, I can simply just take this, copy and paste it, and post it into Facebook if I had like Facebook opened or something. So that's the first one. I went to LinkedIn. I can do the same thing. I can change the style of the writing, and it'll optimize for LinkedIn. And then same thing for TikTok and same thing for Twitter. Obviously, if you're in Twitter, it's going to be a little bit smaller, less characters because there's a limit. Now, I can also go to email and I can have this formatted for an email. It'll even give me the subject title line, and then it'll fully write this email. Now, I've already read through this. This is a pretty darn good email for AI, to be honest. There will be some small tweaks you're going to want to make. You have to obviously add your links to here, but that really is not that bad. Honestly, you've already saved probably 20, 30 minutes by just using this tool. This is a pretty great tool in terms of saving time if you're going to want to create blog posts, LinkedIn articles, that kind of thing. Let's see your LinkedIn article. So the thing I like the most, I think for me, out of all of these is going to be the LinkedIn article. And I don't even use LinkedIn articles yet, to be honest with you. However, the idea of being able to take a podcast and take it and turn it into this nice long form piece of content for me is really, really valuable. So imagine if you had like, this is like a 4 or 5 minute episode or piece of episode. Imagine if I had like a 40 or 30-minute episode in here and it was with a big influencer or somebody that I wanted to learn from. I could go in here and write a LinkedIn long form article and have it posted or have my team post it for me when the episode's out. I think for both you and the guest, it is way, way more valuable if you're able to use all of this stuff. As you can see, like I mentioned before, it'll give you quotes, YouTube descriptions, LinkedIn, blog post, email, all of that stuff. So it's a bit more robust than Melville as it is right now. And it's also a little bit more pricey. So we I'll log out real quick and we go to sign up. As you can see here in terms of pricing, you have three different options. So you have 20, 29, 59, and $90 a month. So in terms of what you get for it, though, I think it's very, very good. If I was picking any of these, I'd probably go with the middle one here because it's going to get you everything you need, plus those awesome LinkedIn promotional engagement posts. Obviously, if you're doing the $90 a month one, it's going to give you more long form content. It's going to give you blog post content. But either way, I think the growth of the pro are really, really good ideas, especially if you're planning on taking your podcast and you want to use it as much as humanly possible when it comes to like getting different types of content written and really, really, really distributing your stuff everywhere. That is, for me, the second growth tool. I think you can multiply the amount of content you do by at least 5 or 6x. So, taking one episode and being able to use it for 5 or 6 different pieces of content, I think that's pretty darn good. The last one that I mentioned for you guys was a free tool. So this free tool for me has been very interesting to play around with, very interesting to use myself to help some of our clients grow, help some of our clients get featured on different places as well. So if you can see my screen, you'll be able to see it now. This is Tink Media. So Tink Media is ran by Lauren Pacell. So Lauren Pacell is that lady right there. But one of the things I think that is really cool about her site, that I think makes it very unique and valuable, is this podcast promo swap list. And you may have heard other people talk about this tool as well. I stumbled upon this tool probably 6 months ago. Yeah, 6 or 7 months ago, I'd say. And it has been very useful. We've used it to do swaps with email lists. We've used it to promote some of our clients' podcasts as well. So it's been a really, really useful tool. So if you are following along on the podcast, that is tinkmedia.co/swaps, SWAPS, tink, TINK media.co/swaps. So that's the URL. It'll be in the show notes as well. But while you're here, let's just go through this. So there's two main lists. There's podcast promo swap, and then there's the newsletter swap. So this is for the first one is for swapping with other podcasts. Okay. So podcasts, that's like me going to you and saying, hey, let's trade like commercials. So I'll promote your show, you promote my show. And then the other one is a newsletter database where there's a ton of different newsletters that are looking to feature podcasts on their newsletter for content. So some of those are paid and some of those are free. So you can check out either one. I'm actually going to pop into the second one here, the newsletter one, because that's for me personally, that's where I'm more interested right now. And it'll take a minute to populate. So give it a second. However, basically, if you're familiar with Airtable, it is essentially an Airtable database that allows you to just see a whole bunch of different newsletters. So you've got podcast and newsletter here. You've got podcast marketing magic. You've got earbuds, inside podcasting, how to do the pot, great British podcasts, great pods, creative wayfinding, all kinds of things. And it tell you a little bit about the newsletter. It tells you, what they're open to doing. So some of them are open to getting pitches. Some of them are not. Some of them, want like just other forms of content from you. Again, it has all their contact information. So if you wanted to reach out to any of these podcast newsletters, you literally could just go here, grab the newsletter, email, and then reach out to that person. And it's the same thing for your swap. So if we go back the promo list, this is the same thing, except these people are all podcasts. So this list, I would say, if I had to guess, is about, I don't know, 70 to 100 people, 70 to 100 podcasts on here. Maybe even more, I may be underestimating it. But I mean, there's dozens of podcasts in all kinds of fields. So you've got art, comedy, TV, education, technology, female focus, society and culture, science. I mean, I'm sure one of those, your podcast probably fits into one of those categories right now, right? So those are the three tools I would say to check out in 2023. You've got, again, melville.app for making really, really great show notes, titles, getting your transcripts, all that stuff done. You've got Capshow that'll do the same thing, but then it'll take it a step further and create more social content for you. And then you have this free promotion and growth tool with the swap base from Tink Media, which isn't even really a software, but it's just a really cool resource to have that's online. So those are my three. Check those out. If you're on the YouTube version, there'll be links to all this stuff below. If you're on the podcast version, there'll be links to this in the show notes. That is for now. I'm curious to hear what you think is your favorite tool. And if I missed a tool, then post it below, link it below, and I'd love to check it out. And maybe we'll do a review on that one in another video. Take care.